When you're stuck in a dangerous situation, your first instinct is to find an exit. But what happens when the very space around you closes off every door? What happens when reality itself shifts just to make sure you can never, ever leave? Today's horror movies designed to trigger your worst claustrophobic nightmares. These aren't just movies about locked doors, these are stories about characters trapped in infinite loops, shifting geometry, and psychological cages. 8 horror movies, 8 traps with no exit, no emergency doors, no rescue teams, no way out. These films will make you terrified of being trapped, and you will never look at a locked room, a dark field, or an underground cave the same way again. Let's step inside our first inescapable trap. 1408. Director Mikael Hofström's 1408, released in 2007 and adapted from a Stephen King short story, follows Mike Enslin, a cynical author who travels the country debunking supposedly haunted locations. After receiving an anonymous postcard warning him not to enter room 1408 at New York City's Dolphin Hotel, Mike views it as a challenge rather than a threat. Hotel manager Gerald Olin meets him at the front desk and pleads with him not to stay, revealing that 56 people have died in that room and no one has ever lasted more than an hour. Mike uses the Fair Housing Act to force the hotel's hand and takes the key anyway. The moment Mike enters room 1408, the atmosphere shifts. The clock radio switches on by itself and plays "We've Only Just Begun" by the Carpenters. The digital display flickers and resets to 60 minutes, beginning a countdown. The window slams down on his hand. The room drops to sub-zero temperatures. Visions of previous victims parade through the space, and Mike sees his late daughter Katie in her hospital bed. He tries crawling through the air vents and is chased back by a ghost of a former guest. He manages to reach Lily through his laptop, but a doppelganger of himself appears in the video window and urges her to come to the hotel. The imposter looks directly at Mike and winks. The room then floods with water from a painting of a ship in a storm. Mike surfaces on a beach, apparently reliving a surfing accident, and believes the whole ordeal was a nightmare. He reconciles with Lily and writes a book about the experience. At the post office, he recognizes hotel staff among a construction crew, and the walls around him tear open to reveal he is still inside the burning wreckage of room 1408. Katie's ghost appears and crumbles to dust when he embraces her. The clock resets once more. A voice on the phone tells him he can relive the hour endlessly or use the express checkout. Mike instead sets the room on fire. Firefighters pull him out. Later, going through his recovered belongings, he plays back his tape recorder and hears his daughter's voice, confirming everything was real. Some places do not let you leave, and room 1408 proved that no amount of skepticism is a key to any door. You Should Have Left. Director David Koop's You Should Have Left, released in 2020 and based on Daniel Kilman's novella, follows Theo Conroy, a retired banker played by Kevin Bacon, who travels with his younger actress wife Susanna and their 6-year-old daughter Ella to a remote modern house in the Welsh countryside for a family vacation. From the moment they arrive, something feels wrong. Neither Theo nor Susanna can remember which of them made the booking. The lights behave strangely. Time moves faster than it should. Both adults begin suffering from nightmares, and Ella sees the shadow of a man appear on her bedroom wall at night. A local shopkeeper warns Theo about the house, hands him a measuring triangle, and tells him to check the angles. Theo measures the kitchen and discovers the interior is geometrically larger than the exterior allows. The walls and hallways shift. A hidden staircase appears behind a bookshelf. Notes begin appearing in Theo's journal in his own handwriting, warning him to leave, though he has no memory of writing them. The ghost of his first wife Caroline appears in the bathtub. Theo discovers Susanna has been having an affair and sends her away. Alone with Ella, he tries to walk to town to escape. They walk in a straight line through the cold for a long stretch and end up directly back at the house. The road will not let them leave. Stetler, the house's supposed owner, kidnaps Ella inside the dream world and takes the physical form of Theo to taunt him. He tells Theo his family must pay for his sins and will only release Ella if Theo does what he must. Susanna returns the next morning and Theo finally confesses the truth. His first wife drowned, and he watched it happen without saving her. The house, confirmed by the shopkeeper to be built on land where the devil once collected souls, has been waiting for Theo specifically. He sends Susanna and Ella out and stays behind. His spirit is then seen trapped inside the house, and it is revealed he had been the shadowy figure watching his own past self all along. Some houses do not just haunt you, they find you, and when you are terrified of being trapped inside your own guilt, there is nowhere left to run. Triangle. Director Christopher Smith's Triangle, released in 2009, follows Jess, a single mother, played by Melissa George, who joins a group of friends on a sailing trip off the Florida coast. The group aboard includes Greg, his deckhand Victor, a married couple named Sally and Downey, and Sally's friend Heather. Before they even set sail, the radio picks up a distress signal from a woman frantically saying someone is killing everyone on board a ship. A sudden storm capsizes their boat, Heather is swept away, and the remaining 5 survivors climb onto a passing ocean liner called the Aeolus, which appears completely deserted. From the moment they board, Jess feels a crushing sense of déjà vu. They find her own keys hanging inside a grate and discover food that goes from fresh to rotten within minutes. Someone in a burlap mask begins shooting at the group from the upper decks, killing Greg in the ship's theater. Jess disarms the shooter, knocks her overboard, and pulls off the mask, revealing it is another version of herself. The masked Jess tells her the only way home is to kill everyone. More loops fold in on each other. Multiple versions of the same dead bodies pile up throughout the ship's corridors. Jess finds a room stacked with dozens of her own locket, proof the cycle has repeated countless times before. Desperate to end it, Jess arms herself, dresses in the shooter's outfit and burlap mask, shoots her friends, and is knocked overboard by the newest version of herself. She washes ashore and returns home, where she watches her own earlier self strike Tommy in frustration. She kills her counterpart, takes Tommy, and drives away. A seagull strikes the windshield. When she pushes it off the road, she finds a pile of dozens of dead seagulls from previous loops. She crashes into a truck, and Tommy is killed. A taxi driver appears and takes her to the harbor. She boards Greg's boat, and the loop begins again. The screenplay directly references Sisyphus, the mythological figure condemned to repeat the same futile act forever, and in Triangle, being terrified of being trapped means the loop never ends. Ganjiam, Haunted Asylum. Director Jung Boom-shik's Ganjiam, Haunted Asylum, released in 2018, opens with 2 teenage boys live streaming their attempt to open room 402 inside the abandoned Ganjiam Psychiatric Hospital in South Korea. The rumor surrounding the building states that the hospital director murdered all his patients before disappearing. The boys hear a ping-pong ball bounce in the corridor outside the sealed door, and their stream cuts off. Hajun, owner of a YouTube channel called Horror Times, recruits 6 participants to live stream a full exploration of the building with a target of 1 million viewers. Hajun stays at a base camp outside while the group enters. What 3 of them do not know is that Hajun, Sung-hoon, and Sung-wook have planted fake scares throughout the building to generate reactions. Inside, the stage scares work initially. Then Ji-hyun puts her arm inside a wooden treatment closet and pulls it out with deep scratches clawed into her skin. A doll found in the laboratory reappears in a different position. Charlotte's scarf floats upright in the air on its own. Hajun ignores all of it and keeps the stream running. Sung-wook is knocked unconscious in the basement by floating objects. When Ji-hyun and Charlotte try to leave the building, they keep arriving back at the same marked tree, walking in circles. Ji-hyun's eyes turn fully black. Charlotte flees and finds herself inside room 402 with the door locked behind her. A naked man charges at her and drags her into the darkness. Sung-hoon confesses on camera that the earlier scares were staged, but that everything happening now is real. A ping-pong ball rolls toward the group. Charlotte's screaming comes from inside the sealed room. The infrared cameras flash. Room 402 opens. Sung-hoon, Jae-yoon, and Ah-yeon step inside and find themselves standing in knee-deep water in a room with no exit. Ghostly apparitions close in and possess them one after another. Hajun enters the building and the floating corpse of the hospital director strangles him to death. Sung-wook wakes strapped to a wheelchair and is dragged through corridors of watching ghost patients directly into room 402. The live stream ends. Outside viewers, seeing only 503 real views on the counter, assume the whole thing was fake. Ganjiam does not let you leave, and being terrified of being trapped means the asylum was never finished with any of them. 10. Cloverfield Lane. Director Dan Trachtenberg's 10 Cloverfield Lane, released in 2016, follows Michelle, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who leaves her New Orleans apartment after an argument with her fiancé. While driving through rural Louisiana, a truck strikes her car and knocks her unconscious. She wakes up chained to a wall in a concrete room underground. The man who unchains her is Howard, a survivalist played by John Goodman, who tells her an attack has poisoned the outside air. A second man, Emmett, confirms he witnessed a red flash in the sky and begged Howard to let him inside. Michelle steals Howard's keys and attempts the airlock. She stops when she sees a woman outside pressing her face against the glass, her skin covered in severe lesions, before she collapses and dies. Michelle goes back inside. Days pass. She crawls through the ventilation system and discovers the word "help" scratched into a fiberglass panel alongside two bloody earrings belonging to a local girl named Brittany, who had gone missing years before. She and Emmett secretly build a makeshift hazmat suit. Howard discovers the stolen tools and shoots Emmett in the head. Michelle finishes the suit alone, knocks a barrel of acid onto Howard during a struggle, and climbs out. Outside, the air is breathable. Then, an enormous alien spacecraft rises above the tree line and discharges toxic green gas across the farm. The craft lifts Howard's truck toward its mouth with mechanical tentacles. Michelle makes a Molotov cocktail from a whiskey bottle, a magazine, and a lighter found inside the truck and throws it into the craft's opening. It explodes and drops her. She retrieves the dead woman's car keys and drives away. The radio announces survivors should seek shelter in Baton Rouge, and anyone with combat or medical experience should head to Houston. She turns toward Houston. In 10 Cloverfield Lane, being terrified of being trapped means the bunker below you and the sky above you are both the danger. Caveat. Director Damian McCarthy's Caveat, released in 2020, follows Isaac, an amnesiac drifter played by Jonathan French who is desperate for money. His acquaintance Barrett offers him a paid job babysitting his troubled niece Olga on an isolated island. Isaac cannot swim. Barrett tells him there is a boat. The house is a rotting structure surrounded by lake water with no other buildings nearby. Once inside, Barrett reveals the final condition. Isaac must wear a leather harness attached to a long chain bolted into the wall. The chain restricts him from entering Olga's room. Barrett places the key on a shelf out of Isaac's reach and leaves by boat. Olga moves through the house carrying a crossbow and a skinless toy rabbit whose drum plays on its own whenever something dark approaches. Isaac finds a painting in the hallway that shifts position when he is not looking directly at it. He discovers a corpse hidden inside a basement wall. Olga tells him her claustrophobic father was locked in the basement harness by her mother until his mind broke and he shot himself. She also tells Isaac he has been to this house before. His red jacket is in the house. He left it the previous year on a job Barrett hired him to do. The memory returns in fragments. Barrett had paid Isaac to trap Olga's father in the basement, so his claustrophobia would drive him to suicide. Isaac had second thoughts and left a warning note instead. Barrett then pushed Isaac off a balcony, causing his amnesia. Isaac retrieves the chain key from the corpse. During the final confrontation, Olga shoots Barrett with the crossbow and locks him in the basement. The ghost of Olga's mother emerges from the wall and follows Barrett into the dark. Isaac forces Olga into the harness and crawls through the walls to escape. He reaches the island's edge. He turns back and sees Olga still chained in the doorway, watching him from across the water. In Caveat, the chain around your wrist and the island around your feet make being terrified of being trapped the only thing keeping you alive. In the Tall Grass. Director Vincenzo Natali's In the Tall Grass, released on Netflix in 2019 and based on Stephen King and Joe Hill's novella, follows pregnant Becky and her brother Cal, who pull over near an abandoned Kansas church after hearing a young boy crying for help inside a vast field of tall grass. The moment they step in, they lose each other. Their voices sound close, but they cannot reach each other. The grass itself moves to keep them apart. The road disappears entirely. Night falls and neither can find the way out. Cal stumbles upon a boy named Tobin holding a dead crow. Tobin says the grass does not move dead things and buries the bird as a marker. Becky encounters Tobin's father, Ross, played by Patrick Wilson, who claims to know the way out. Ross leads her to a flattened circle of grass where his wife Natalie lies dismembered. He has touched an ancient rock at the field's center, and the rock has consumed him. Becky's ex-boyfriend Travis arrives separately after finding their abandoned car, searches the field, and discovers Becky's decomposing body before a disoriented Tobin leads him further in. The field loops time. The same people appear at different points in their own timelines. Multiple dead versions of Cal pile up in one spot where Ross repeatedly kills him. Ross murders Natalie when she tries to warn the others. He mortally wounds Travis. As Ross tries to force Tobin to touch the rock, Becky attacks Ross and Travis strangles him with bundled grass before dying from his wound. Knowing he is dying anyway, Travis touches the rock. It gives him knowledge of the field's exits. He presses Becky's necklace into Tobin's hand, guides him to an exit point, and sends him through. Tobin emerges at the church just before the events began and convinces Becky and Cal never to enter. Travis dies inside as the grass closes over him. When you are terrified of being trapped, a field with no exit is simply a grave that breathes. The Descent. Director Neil Marshall's The Descent, released in 2005, opens with Sarah surviving a car crash that kills her husband and young daughter. 1 year later, her friend Juno organizes a caving trip in the Appalachian Mountains to reunite their group of 6 women. Once inside, a tunnel collapses behind them. There is no way back. Juno then confesses she brought them to an uncharted cave system she discovered herself, meaning no one knows where they are and no rescue is coming. The 6 push deeper, searching for another exit. Holly spots what she thinks is daylight and runs ahead, falls into a pit, and breaks her leg, with the bone tearing through the skin. As the others tend to her, Sarah wanders off and sees a pale humanoid creature drinking from a pool before it scampers into the dark. The group dismisses it. Moments later, the creatures attack. They are blind, hunt by sound, and move like animals on all 4 limbs. One rips Holly's throat open. Juno kills 2 crawlers with her pickaxe, and in the confusion swings blindly behind her, driving the pick into Beth's neck. Juno flees. Sarah wakes in a pit flooded with animal carcasses and watches through a night vision camera as the crawlers tear Holly's body apart. Sam is killed when a crawler rips her throat on a ceiling ledge. Rebecca is dragged away. Sarah finds Beth dying and learns the truth when Beth presses Juno's necklace into her hand. Sarah gives Beth a mercy kill. She later reunites with Juno, and the two fight their way through a final wave of crawlers. Sarah then silently shows Juno the necklace. She drives a pickaxe into Juno's leg and leaves her as the sounds of crawlers close in. In the original UK ending, Sarah's escape is revealed as a hallucination, and she is still in the cave surrounded by darkness. When you are terrified of being trapped underground with no exit and no rescue, The Descent proves the cave was never finished with any of them. That is the list. 8 films, 8 traps, 0 exits. If you want to start with just 2, go with The Descent and 1408 and keep the lights on. If this breakdown hit different, subscribe and leave a like, because there is more horror coming soon and you do not want to miss it.